Hello and welcome back to Coding with T. In today's tutorial, we're going to learn about how to create a pie chart in Flutter. In previous tutorial, we have already covered the line graph or the bar graph in the Flutter web admin panel. If you're new, you can watch the previous video. As you can see in your screen, we are inside the dashboard of our admin panel that we are creating. And over here, this is the weekly sales data that we created in the previous tutorial. The one you are seeing is the live website which is hosted on Firebase, which we are going to learn in the last videos of this course. But for today's tutorial, we're going to create this order status graph you can see over here, which is the round or the circular graph. We call it a pie chart or the pie graph. And down below, you can see we have these colors. The green means delivered, salmon orders, the total price of this much. Then we have shipped, pending, cancelled, processing with all these total prices and orders. So you can see pending is 26 and we have $11,777.88, and you can see the blue with the 26 orders. And in the upcoming tutorial, we are going to learn how to create this recent orders. And also currently we are in the desktop mode. When I'm going to reach toward the tablet size, let's scroll it a bit down and you can see the status is working fine over here. It's responsive. When we are reducing, it's also adjusting itself. And this is the final mobile version in which you can see the order status is looking very much responsive. So this is what we are going to achieve today. Okay, we are creating Flutter e-commerce admin panel, and in that we have already covered the 5 sections, whereas in today we are going to continue the 6th section of the dashboard, in which already covered the graphs and the bar chart, whereas today we're going to cover the pie chart. So if you're new, again, you can watch the previous videos, link is in the description. So let's get started. Open Android Studio and we are inside the dashboard desktop screen, and this is the bar graph that we created previously. You can see all the details over here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to click on right click, go to refactor and extract it as a Flutter widget. And you can see we cannot create this as an separate, or we cannot extract it as a separate widget. The reason is because you can see the function down below over here, which we created as a separately for this bar chart data over here. So we have to do this manually. Okay, inside this features of this lib function, we have a features of shop, and in the shop we have screens, and in the screens we have only one currently a folder, which is a dashboard folder. And in that folder, we are going to follow this structure approach, which is to create responsive screens. We have desktop, mobile, and tablet. Then we have the table data. Then we have widgets over here and the dashboard. In the widgets, we created the dashboard card recently, but now I'm going to create the weekly sales widget. Okay, I pasted all the code over here, right from the T rounded container till and the new function, which is to build the titles data. And in here, I removed everything, and also we do not need this dashboard controller over here. Rather, we have created the dashboard controller over here. Okay, now inside this bar graph, we only need this T weekly sales graph widget that we just created, and that's it. And over here, the next one that we are going to create is the pie chart. If you watch the previous tutorial, you know that this is the structure that we are following for creating our dashboard design to make it responsive. First expanded means the left side with the bar graph and then list of orders. Inside the expanded, and take double size using flex 2 as compared to the right side, which is the pie chart, again using expanded. So inside this expanded, I'm going to create another function and take this T rounded container in that to create a pie chart. Okay, I've created a new class and name it order status graph.dart, and the class name is order status pie chart. Currently it has a simple instance of dashboard controller using dot instance, which is we created in the dashboard controller to directly get or call get.find. So we will get the already created instance of this controller, and in here we are going to create the graph first, and then we are going to create a table which is going to show all the colors with the details of the orders. So let's create a graph first, and before that we are going to wrap this column with a widget T rounded container, and inside the column the first thing that we need to create the title, the same title size with the headline small that we use for our bar graph to display the weekly sales. And now to create the graph, the widget that we are going to use is the pie chart, because we are using FL charts. So if you're again new, you can watch the previous videos and download or add. So inside the pie chart, as you can see, as in the previous tutorial, again for the bar graph, we are going to use the same approach, and it is also requiring the same thing to provide the data, as you can see. And for the data, we are going to simply use pie chart data, and inside we are going to create the sections inside this pie chart, and for that we have some properties called sections. So before adding the sections, we have to create the sections data inside our dashboard control. For the orders list or the dummy orders list that we created, we will definitely go for the orders detailed with the fetching orders from the database, displaying orders into a proper professional format. So for the demo purpose, or for now to understand the graphs, last time we created the weekly sales function, and now you're going to create calculate order status data, and we're going to call this function inside the onInit method, so that whenever this instance will be created, function will automatically calculate all the order status data. So if we open the design again, you can see this is the graph, and inside this graph we need two type of data. The first data is that what is the meaning of this 26? 26 is the number of orders, or it is a count of which type. So 26 is a type of pending orders, right? So we have the order status over here, and then this is the number of orders, and this is the price of that pending orders, right? So we need basically three things, but we're going to cover them in two variables. So first of all, we are going to create a map or a JSON whose key will be these. This is the key. The status name will be the key. Like delivered order status is a delivered. This is the key. How many order status are delivered? Then as an integer value, we're going to store the order or the number of the orders, right? So we will have a JSON. This will be the key and this will be the value. So shipped is again a key. Then how many in the value? 5. And after that, same we're going to use for the amount calculation using JSON. We will have delivered, how many or what is the price of the delivered. We have $5980.50. And again for the pending, status type is pending, which is a key, and the value is 11777.88. So this is how we're going to get the data. Using that approach, I have created two JSONs. You can see these are the empty JSONs over here, and both have the key as order status. So this is a key and this is a value. So first value for the order status data, or the number of orders in the status data, we have integer value. Let's say pending, we have 38 and so on. And for the second one, we have order status first, and then we have the amount for that specific order status. Now you have to calculate those things and fill up these two variables. And you can see these are the type of Rx variables, means this is variables. We can make them to use easily whenever we want to update the state or update the UI. So now get back to this function to calculate the order status data. First of all, we need to clear everything. If there is already anything already stored, or we have multiple instances of this class, then we want to first clear everything from this order status data. And also, if you want, you can clear this total amount as well. But instead of doing that, we are going to add the empty list for the amounts. So this is the map to store the total amounts for each status. And how are we going to store them? We have total amounts. This is a JSON because it is a RX type. So to extract or to assign a JSON, we have to call the dot value. This is actually a JSON itself, not a RX. And over here, we are going to run through a for loop. And what is in the for loop? For loop has the order status dot values. So if you see the enum order status, we have these values inside it. So we have pending, processing, shipped, delivered, and cancelled. These are the enums created inside the utils constants. Enums.dart. These are the enums, cannot be created inside a class. So we have those enums, and we are going to use those enums to handle our orders as we done previously inside our app. So what it is going to do, it is going to run a for loop on it, and it is going to assign a key. This is a key, status is a key. Let's say first of all we have a pending, and we're going to store 0.0 as the amount inside the pending. Then for the processing, completed, delivered, everything, all the statuses will have 0.0 as the default amount. So this is going to make it dynamically assign as many order status types as we have, and all the amounts will be automatically 0. Now it's time to calculate total amount for the order. So we're going to run the for loop again on an order, And currently we have the dummy orders already created at the top. So we're going to route through all these orders. But when we're going to fetch orders from the database, then we will pass the database resultant orders. Now, first of all, we are going to count the orders. So we have status data and order status data of status. And first, let me get the status of this current order dot status. If you remember that we assigned the status to all the orders, so each order, so we'll get the status of the order. Once we have the status, against the status of, let's say, pending. So the key is order status data of pending. We are going to assign the value because we have to increment this. So we have to again extract the previously data or previously added number inside this order status data at this status. Let's say pending already have two counts or the two orders already added inside the pending, and just we have to increment it with the one more. In case if this is zero, if in case it is null, then we want to make sure that null cannot be added with a plus. We will get an exception and our application will be crashed. For that we have to handle it. If this is null, or let's say it's the first time we do not have any pending value, then we want to assign 0 plus 1. So first one will be 1. Now we want to calculate the amount against each order status. So we have total amounts at the status of, let's say, pending. We will do the same, but we are going to call the total amounts already added in it of this current status of pendings plus the order amount of order dot total amount of this current order of this loop. And also if in case it is if it is null again, then we will assign 0 to it. And by this way we have completed work with the order status data and total. Now once we have those things, we can go to the pie chart, and inside we can create the section. Using this controller we can call our variables. Controller dot order status data dot entries means get each entry at a time, and we are going to map it. This map means that you have to return what is required by these sections. If you hover it, it requires a list of pie chart section data. This means whatever we are going to map and return, it will be the type of toList, and inside this map function we have to return the pie data. So let's create the one single entry will be inside this function like this. Okay, now inside this function we will return it, and the error will be gone. So first of all, get the status or get the order status, which is currently the key. If you see this entry is basically a JSON of one thing. So you can see we have a map entry over here. The first value is, or key is, the order status, and the value is integer. So we want to extract the key over here, entry dot key. This is going to return the status. So we have the status. We have to get the count, and count is inside entry dot value. So now we have key or status, and against that status we have all the values. Now we can easily return what is required. Pie chart section data, this is required, and we're going to return it, and you can see the error is gone. Now inside this we can create multiple things. This is by default true, show title. If you want to make it false, you can do it. So let's give it a title, and I'm going to pass the count as a title. It requires the string, so make it .toString, not a semicolon. After the title we have a value. So value I'm going to pass again count.to. Then for the title style, I'm going to use the text style, font size 16, font weight is bold, color is white. You can use any theme as we done previously. Now the next thing is the radius. So this is the radius of the pie chart. You can play with these values to increase or decrease the sizes. So let's try with the 100 radius. We will change it in a few minutes if required. And then we can create the colors of different sections. We have pending, completed, and all those things. So we have to create different colors for each section, and we have to remember those colors as well, so that we can create or demonstrate those colors later on in the table. I have created or called the T helper functions dot get order status color and pass the status we have over here. And if you go to the T helper functions, which is located inside the utils, helpers and helper functions, and in that we have order status color function or get order status color, I've created this with a very simple logic. You can use the switch statement as well. So we will receive the order status value. If order status dot pending is equal to this value, if it is a pending order, then we will return the blue. In the processing, it's orange, shipped will be purple, delivered green, cancelled red, and else we are going to return the gray color. So you can add more colors, you can change this logic, you can do whatever you want because it is a type of static function. You can see so that we do not have to create the instance of this thelper functions. After this, we can use the PyTouch data. Currently, I'm not using it, but just for your information, PyTouch data is a function that you can handle touch events if needed, and it is enabled as true. Now let's run the application to see if there is anything we have created. Okay, so our application is running, and I think we have messed up something. So let's find it out. The first mistake was that we used the t-rounded container, but we did not wrap this pie chart with a size box because again all the graphs need to be have a specific height, so we have to wrap it with a size box. Give it a height of 400. Let's try to save it, and yes, you can see we have successfully created our graph and the graph is visible. Design is back to as it was, and I think we have some order over here with the Friday value. Okay, so we have to you can see at the top we have to align this. It is inside the row. If we go back to the desktop and inside this row, we have to use the cross-axis alignment and make it dot to start, so that the cross-axis means the vertical side. All the widgets or all the childs should be started from the top side. So let's save it. And now you can see the order status and weekly sales are starting from the right top corner of our row, and they also have the same height so far. So we had three orders of this green, one is this purple, and one is this orange or yellow. Now it's time to again go back to the order status graph. This means that we are done with these things, but furthermore, to design this, press Control Space, and you can see we have all these options. We can customize these things to deal with this pie chart data. Design, if you want, you can add center space color, center space radius, border data, section space. Section space means that it will add the space between the sections. Currently they are totally intact. You can see they are connected with the just one line. Maybe they have a space of 1. You can add it to 2 to 5 to 10 as much you like. This is a center space, so you can change these values if you like. Okay, next, once the graph is created, I'm going to create a table. I'm going to use the data table over here, and for the columns, I have created 3 columns, and the label is status, orders, and total. So first of all, we have to display the status. Then against that status, we will display the number of orders and the total value. So now as rows, we have to display the number of rows. If you want to know more about this data table, simple table, and data table 2, paging data table, we have already completed the section 5 on it. You can watch that. So again, we're going to call the controller to print all the rows. Again, I'm going to go for order status data. You can choose total amounts as well if you like, because they are same. So again, go for the entries, and we are going to map number of rows in it. Again, it will be a list, sorry. And inside this map, we know that we have a function, and each time we are going to receive one single entry, and in that we have to return what? It is a list of data rows. So this means we have to return data row with the number of cells. We have 3 columns. This means we will also have 3 cells. But first we need to get the data that we want to display. So we have the same things as we have at the top. We have status and count. This is the same status and same count. But else, the third thing we need over here is the total amount. And we're going to get the total amount using controller dot total amounts of this current status. And if the total amount is null, we will replace it with a 0. Okay, now inside the data row, because we have to return the list of cells, which will be 3 in cells, and each cell will be a type of data cell. So for the first row, because we have a status, so I also want to display a color. So inside this data cell, I'm using a row with the children of 2. The first one is going to be the circular container to display the color. Width is 20, height is 20, background color is the color, the same color for this status. If you remember that at the top, While creating this color, we see this function, we pass the status and return a color. Now we are going to use the same function, we will pass the status, and against that status we will get the background color that for the specific status. So if you see this T circular container, we created e-commerce app. In that we created a simple container with the width, height, margin and padding. We have some default values at the top, and we have a decoration with a color, border, radius, border, and definitely a child. So we are using this, pass the background color, width and height, and then as an expanded to display the color inside a row so that it can be responsive. In smaller devices, it should not get crashed. So I wrap this text with the expanded. Now inside this display status, what we have to call? We have to call the status. For the next data cell, we are going to display the count that we receive over here, which is the number of orders. And the third one is again a data cell with the text, and we're going to use this total amount dot toString as fixed, means that we can display the maximum 2 decimals, which is the 0.00. If you want to display more, you can increase it. Now let's save the code. Okay, so our application is running, and you can see we have a status of order status dot processing. Number of orders is 1, delivered is 3, shipped is 1, and this is the total price that we have for each order. Now to sort out or to display the proper naming of the status, I will go to the dashboard controller, and right after this function I'm going to create another function which is going to display or return the display status name. I've named it get display status name, and we're going to pass the status. And if again it is a simple switch statement, if the status is pending, we will return the pending. If it is processing, shipped, delivered, cancelled and unknown, you can add more status if you want. Now in here where we are simply displaying the status, going to add the controller dot get display name. We will call that function, pass the status, and it is going to return the string to us. Now let's save it again, and this time you can see we have processing, shipped, delivered, but it is not taking the complete space, right? So to make it responsive, if I'm going to make it smaller, now it is looking something better, but this is not exactly what we want. So let's go to this data table, and I'm going to wrap it again with a size box, give it a width of double dot infinity so that it can take the complete space available. And this time you can see it is taking the complete space no matter how much we are extracting it. So this is exactly what we want to create. So we have this status graph. Inside this dashboard desktop, we have it in the expanded. So I'm going to copy this. We are going to go for the tablet mode. Inside the tablet mode, you can see we have a bar graph. We do not have any row. We do not have any column inside it, no expanded, nothing. We just want to display the weekly sales graph. Then we have the space, then we have the orders, which we are going to create in the next tutorial. Then we have again a space, and after that, sorry, I just copy the expanded, remove the expanded, and we just have the order status. And same we are going to go for the mobile. So inside the mobile, right after the cards, we have to add a space of sections, weekly, then we have orders, and then we have a pie chart. So you can also change this order if you want. Let's save it. And now currently we are inside the desktop mode, so let's try to reach it to the tablet. We are inside the tablet, and you can see we have the weekly sales or the bar graph over here, and then down below we have the section for the orders, and then we have the order status. You can also change the order. So let's reach towards the mobile, and we have the cards, then we have the graph over here, and after that we have the pie chart that we just created with all the details, which is working very much fine. You can change these sizes if you want to see that if there is any problem with the design. So that's it for today's tutorial. I hope you learned something new. If you have any questions, you can ask me down below in the comments, and if you're new, you can get the complete playlist link in the description. So thank you for watching, and take care.